All right, guys. We're officially not technically live, but recording episode number 35, where we're going to talk about cannabis laws and stuff. Right?
Yes.
So, here with Mr. Brian Ellis and my friend Bill Kolby, William Talley.
How you guys
And
What's up?
so I was thinking maybe I'm just going to overview the history of cannabis in Arkansas real quick, just for the beginning, because you have worked with in the industry, so to speak, on the dispensary side of things out west, And so we'll talk about that, and then I'll like a kind of a comparison to what you're seeing, because you also work in the industry, not west, whatever, mid-south. So, okay, outlawed in 1923, prohibition with several other states, New Mexico, Nevada, Oregon, Washington. Legal penalties, under 4 ounces, a misdemeanor. Let's see, reforms. Okay, so reforms started really in 2006. That's actually the year that Kolby and I graduated high school. And they began in Eureka Springs with decriminalization. Do you remember anything about that?
I do not know, actually.
I remember hearing about it, and then Fayetteville followed something similar in 2008. So basically, law enforcement just moved it to lower priority. You were talking about something like that the other day with, Texas had kind of done something similar, right?
Well, the experience that I had was one of the guys that I had worked with from Arizona had traveled to Texas, and they actually said, "Look, we don't know the laws." So when they pulled him over and they caught him with product coming to Oklahoma, they were heading to Oklahoma to do an event there. They stopped him and said, "Look, we don't know the laws." So our supervisor is basically telling us, let's just let him go. We don't want to deal with this right now. We don't know if it's going to be a problem. So
crossing state lines is.
I heard Texas had the worst.
Well, and that's what I was worried
laws.
about.
Dude was doing 10 years in prison for just having a joint on him, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm. Well, and when you talk about the East or the West, when it comes to the cannabis industry in general, I'd like to think of it as just like the whole United States. We're all trying to work together for a common goal. You know what
Allegedly,
I mean?
yes.
So when you're traveling through places like that, it's such a pain whenever you go through somewhere.
It is. That's the
different,
Confederation side of the business of our little system. But almost a great thing to compare this to, I think, would be concealed carry. And I hate how Arkansas has wrapped this up into concealed carry. You're charting that. So basically, this is I have a concealed carry permit, and if I ever wanted to get a license for any reason, I cannot own or buy a gun. So that's kind of wild. But it's same thing. I can't drive from here to California with my gun, following the laws of being on a journey in Arkansas, without breaking other state laws. Just like you're talking about crossing state lines. So that's a very interesting side of things with it being federally illegal.
Well, especially when it comes down to a medicinal side of it.
So talk about your take on that, because you get to see actual patients come in the door.
Well, I've had to deal with patients asking, can I travel with this stuff?
Paranoid.
Can I go somewhere with it? Can I get on the plane and can I travel with this? And it's like, look, I can't tell you that you can't. You can do that. I can't tell you that.
Yeah,
I think as
sure.
long as you're flying from one state that has medical to another state that has medical, you can.
Yes, yeah.
Well,
and that's what I've told them. That it's very possible they might not have an issue with that, but once you go through TSA, it becomes a federal thing at that point, and so it's hard for me to say that because I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't chance it. I wouldn't get on a plane and try to chance that. So for me to tell a patient, you should do this. That's
Right.
I just can't.
Do you think do you think a lot of people were crossing state lines or having a whatever state residence when they really lived in whatever state type?
Yeah, for sure. I've had plenty of patients tell me that they've traveled with it, from state to state. They had to. I mean, some people that are trying to get off their pain medicine, whatever they're using, whatever kind of opiates that they're using.
Oh man.
Usually opiates.
Yeah,
for sure.
they can't go right back to using their medicine again that they're trying to get off of, because it's just gonna go right back into an issue that they're having. So, if they could continue to carry their medicine wherever they're going, like a lot of them were going to Washington, or they could travel through and get to Washington, but they were gonna have
Washington
issues
State.
Yeah.
Man, it's wild. So how many total states is it? State medical. Let's see if we can look that up real quick.
Man, I wanna say,
Recreational and medical.
Yeah.
15 or
It's getting up there now. Like it's a bunch of states. I won't even
might even
say
be able to say it's more than
Oklahoma
that.
might be.
Oklahoma is going pretty crazy right now.
State recreational
Medical, right?
cannabis.
I think they're thinking about recreational too, aren't they?
Yeah, I was told it was like $2,500 to get a license there to start a collective.
Oh, there's a nice
like a
website
dispensary
here.
or whatever, or grow. That's
In Oklahoma,
yeah.
only
yeah,
$2,500.
Yeah, it's like $2,500 to go out there. That's what I was told. I don't know.
How much
exactly.
it? Do you know how much it is around here?
No, I know it's a lot.
A
Like,
lot
you-
more.
23 states fully legal. I had no idea.
23.
Fully legal?
Yeah,
or
yeah. Let's
medical?
take no fully legal. Let's here. I'll read it off. Okay. So this is a listing. I am at DISA.com. Marijuana legality by state. So Alabama, Alaska, California, Colorado, DC, which is a little different classification. Idaho, Kansas, Kentucky.
Kansas? I thought Kansas.
Oh wait. I'm
was-
sorry. Wait. Legal and illegal look real similar.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
let me look
'cause
back in. Okay.
Kansas is like,
Alabama is fully illegal. When I read that, I was
Yeah.
like, "That's way they're way too racist down there."
No, and Kansas
Sorry
said
for
that it will
stereotyping.
never happen there.
Okay,
Kansas
okay.
and Kentucky
Fully
both.
illegal. Okay, so we got Alaska, California, Colorado, DC. Then it's fully illegal in Idaho. Then it's fully illegal in Kansas and Kentucky. Kentucky's surprising.
I think all of West Coast is
Maine,
legal.
Massachusetts, Michigan, fully illegal in
New
Mississippi.
York's legal. I mean, you got.
Did you say fully legal in Mississippi?
Illegal.
Oh, okay.
Nebraska and Nevada. Well, you were just recently in Mississippi. Do you think that the law enforcement are pretty laid back?
Oh yeah, it was.
Where you were at anyway?
Relax.
Oregon, of course. The Dakotas are fully illegal. Tennessee is fully illegal, a state that touches us. Vermont and Washington, Vermont and Washington are legal, and Wisconsin and Wyoming are illegal. So, fully illegal. And there's every other state that I didn't mention is mixed.
Yeah.
So, some sort of recreational.
Medical.
This is a cool website, though. You can actually click on the state laws.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah.
Have you heard of the app Leafly?
Yes.
I think they do that too. That's a great website
I've been using
to
that for
use.
quite a few years, actually, out in Arizona. That's
Is
really
that your
popular.
go-to app to use for stuff like that, or
Yeah.
would you recommend a better one?
No, Leafly always worked really well for me. So
Plug to Leafly.
Yeah, I plugged the Leafly for sure.
Hit,
on that one. That's,
hit Brian Ellis up.
Why do you
Sponsor this man?
Why do you think that we've chosen to do that concealed carry law in Arkansas?
You know, it's
is that
open carry.
like that over? Well, no, like okay, I can't get a cannabis card and a.
Concealed license.
It would buy like my concealed license would basically be void, and I'm not supposed to be owning guns, and I can't go buy a gun.
But we also have open carry license. But you can't carry the two together. But you're
Yeah,
also
but
not
it's on
supposed-
buying a
Well,
gun
see,
too.
my
No, you can
understanding-
still buy a gun.
No. I triple checked that. Yeah,
for sure.
let's look it up.
It's so I was told. No, I didn't look it up, but I was told that like it's kind of a grandfathered in kind of thing where like if you have. Say you have your grandfather's guns.
Yeah.
You know, if you have some shotguns or something.
Yeah, you don't have to give
You
them
don't have
up.
to give away your guns that you currently own.
Right.
before your
Here's an article.
But you just
But I don't
can't
know
buy
if that's,
anymore.
You know,
But see, we have open carry now, and
Mm-hmm.
you're not even supposed to carry beer on you if you have your concealed. But people still do it around here, and it's totally okay.
Here's an article from ULR Public Radio. 5 months after the Arkansas Marijuana Act, voter-approved ballot initiative officially took effect in early 2016, handgun carrying laws greatly expanded in Arkansas at the same time that the cannabis initiative did. That's probably why they piggybacked them in the state, because our open carry laws were being revised at the same time, I think. Handgun carrying laws, that's, I think, when they enhance conceal. So, like, basically, if I have an enhanced conceal, if I want, I can carry on, pretty much anywhere that says you can't. You can.
Yeah.
Sort of is
would
an
imagine
easier way to
I would
summarize it. There are
imagine
some technicalities.
Except for, like, government properties.
Yeah,
Schools,
yes.
yes.
Like the university, for example. But I don't carry there, but I have my enhanced, and I could.
Yeah, I doubt you could at, like, the White House or something, you know.
Let's see. Okay. Gun owners who register as medical marijuana patients are federally prohibited from purchasing or even owning a gun. Damn it.
See, I don't believe in that, man.
Dude, I know it's bullshit. I don't want to think it's true either. That's why I keep bringing it up.
A guy in Illinois, I believe, we have to.
They just went full legality just the other week, right?
Yeah, but there was a guy that had an incident where he actually had to go to court about that, and he actually won his suit against the state about not being able to own a gun or something.
It's wild. Yeah, I mean, but that's a difference in federal and state law right there, because it says that's a federal stip, because that's the thing. It's like you go to buy a gun, you get flagged on a federal background check. So it's like, I guess the only way to alleviate that is like, and that's why I've never really understood why I keep bringing up the concealed, and like Donald Trump brought this up when he ran for office. He hasn't done it. It's like the one thing that I was like, that's a really good idea. But what if concealed carry was like a driver's license? You know what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, it's good in all 50 of the states. You know what I'm saying? It's not just like, yeah, Brian, you have a driver's license, but you can't drive in, the Northeast or Dallas.
What if it was just open carry nationwide at a certain age? If everybody has a gun, nobody has a gun.
Yeah. You know what? Like, here's something else kind of off topic, but this came up yesterday. This guy I work with, like, remember when property ownership was a voting qualification? I mean, it hasn't been in our lifetime, but like where property ownership is a voter qualification. Like, I never really got that, but then now that I own 2 pieces of property and I'm getting fucked by the city over one of those pieces of property, I'm like, wow. Yeah, like I get it now. I get why that was a qualification, because like I did not give 2 fucks before about any of that. Like I was just, I really didn't, but then here's the thing. It's just like I pay more taxes than ever. Mm-hmm. And it's like, it's moderately ridiculous to the level of like the more, and not getting into all that, but it's like,
everybody wants.
That's why you get more invested, and that's why it was a qualification. I kind of get it. I don't, and that like too, man. I'm not real big on that voting age being at 18. Like I was a total piece of shit at 18. Like I mean, like what did? Yeah,
25, I think, when our brains are fully developed, is a closer age.
What do you think some good voting qualifications are if it's not going to be 18?
You know, everybody should have the right to vote, but there are a lot
work over a year at a job consistently.
Yeah. Oh, like almost like apartment type. How if you're going to get an apartment, you got to have some references. You got to have
credit or whatever or something.
Be doing something with your life, not just sitting around and doing nothing.
Yeah, that's hard to chart, man.
I don't want you sitting around giving your opinion when you're not doing anything to help the community.
Exactly. Yeah. That's kind of
a productive citizen.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of unproductive citizens but I wonder if they do even go to the polls and vote. I wonder if how many unproductive citizens actually take time to go to the polls.
A lot.
A lot, you think?
Yeah.
How many young people?
Not as many as you think.
Yeah.
I just never cared as much until, like I said, until I owned property.
Don't care, man.
Yeah.
There's no point.
Man,
they're not the ones.
I want to care. A lot of times I do. I really want to care.
Are you pro the electoral college going away?
Yes, I'm pro there not being just one president and it just being a group of people running the country because it's not the president that truly runs the country.
Well,
Yeah.
now, if that goes away, does that not mean? Let me get this.
Means popular vote matters more.
Yeah.
Which
So
that's kind of what we're talking about. Is like the electoral college is sort of the
Yeah.
check on the
Yeah, so it's
on
almost
on
like
the stuff we're complaining about.
we
Yeah,
don't,
so,
our
yeah,
votes
I think it's
don't
important we
matter.
have that.
They choose the president.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
But if you just let that go, I mean, there's a lot of people that could just continue to say, "Oh yeah, it doesn't matter. They're going to choose the president." We still got to get out there and vote. We still got to try to make a difference if we can.
Well, dude. So here's the thing: like, no third-party candidate has ever been allowed, into the final stages of the debates. Like, I think that's bullshit too. I'm like, now, what was his name from Arizona or New Mexico? Who was the governor that was running in the last presidential election? He was on Joe Rogan. What was that dude's name? I think his name was Gary or something. He got asked, Gary Johnson. Yeah, Gary Johnson. But he's third-party candidate. And they bring up some great points. That's episode 801. But they bring up some great points. It's like, where are the third-party candidates in the debates? They aren't. And, okay, yeah, there you go. And I think that there should be more of a. It's like it's a shit show at the debates, like the Democratic debates. Like, I mean, they've been going on. It's like, man, you guys are really just like, you guys are all on the same team and arguing with each other like that. Mm-hmm. So I think that there should be at least, or it's like, well, there's more than 3 parties. So it's like, why is each party not represented in the final stages in the national spotlight? We're getting kind of political with this conversation. Yeah. I am going to teach American government here one of these semesters.
Yes.
Yeah, right before.
I might fall asleep in that class.
Dude, I'm gonna make it fun. I'm gonna make it super fun.
I hope you do, man. That's awesome.
That's one of the reasons I want to do
it. It makes me really tired just even thinking about
history.
It no,
American government.
American government. Yeah.
Political science.
But just back on the gun topic a little bit. That for me that's a kind of a sore subject for me not to be able to own a gun. Especially if I'm a patient. Because it's. For me, it's like, okay, so you can give you can give gun ownership to an
opiate
addict,
user,
or even an alcoholic, for that matter. But but you're gonna tell me that I can't own a gun because I'm a patient.
Why?
I have a
Why
friend.
do you think that it's just because they were passing the same year that they did that? I mean, I wonder.
Well, because it does affect your judgment. It does, but it doesn't make you a shitty person. It doesn't make you. It doesn't make you a crazy person.
A lot of drugs the military has reported on are like, we really think this might make our people not want to fight, so keep that shit away. Mm-hmm. I'm just like, have you seen Pineapple Express? Of course. In the beginning, they play on that. But that's a very real thing with like government studies into psycho. Like, I always joke around with people that are like, they've never done cannabis or they have an anti-view on it, and I'm like, oh yeah, you like it makes you think funny thoughts. Like, what is
like
the
judging a food that you haven't tasted yet? It's
there's some things you don't want to try, and people are like, don't knock it until you try it, and I'm like, I'm not gonna try.
Well,
that.
okay,
right,
so
dude,
don't knock it. Don't knock it before you try it. If it's natural, let's get. If it's a straight chemical or something, then I get it. Like, if you don't want to try
not even
like
just drug wise or anything
crazy.
like that, just things in life where I'm just like, I'm not interested in that being in my life.
I have to make a judgment on whether or not it's going to be a safe situation for me. So,
true,
if I can say, okay, well, it's a 50-50
Well,
shot,
okay, so let's talk about this real quick. So, what are some adverse cannabis effects that you have seen or heard of?
Impaired judgment, short-term memory loss.
What kind of impaired judgment?
Oh, just like well, I mean, if just like alcohol would impair your judgment to a certain extent.
But I saw that girl on
might make you a little bit more ballsy.
the video drive through those
It chills
cones
me out,
better
man.
than I do. You seen the girl on the course? She drives through the cones super high. So I've seen people like it. I could even consider it for some people, and maybe it's strand specific, being a performance enhancing drug. For the longest time, I was like, psychoactive drugs or not. But have you ever seen that documentary about the guy that pitched the no hitter on LSD? Yeah. That's one of those drugs the military said they didn't
And they
like.
do consider marijuana a mild form of acid.
Well, and look, as a patient in doing jiu-jitsu, I mean that, sativas have always helped me before my classes. You know, I mean, I really they loosen me up. They get that stress from the end of the day of work or whatever.
Wake you up.
They just give me that little burst of energy. I'm like, okay, well, I'm feeling creative. Let's go somewhere with this. And that's so. It can definitely enhance or dehance if you use a heavy indica of some sort.
They say that for people who use it before fights, it can they won't feel the pain.
For people listening who have no idea about cannabis, explain the difference between indica and sativa, please.
Okay, so indica is going to be in short, it's your nighttime. Sativas are your daytime. Hybrids could be your any times or your daytimes or whatever you want, depending on how they lean. They could lean more.
Psychoactively speaking, like what I've heard, like indicas make you more mellow, chill, maybe creative, but sativas make you more hyper.
Yeah, hyper and creativity. For me on sativas is where it's at. If you're a painter, if you're an artist, if you're a musician, all that stuff with the sativa is, it helps creativity. So I mean, it's
indica is used a lot for pain relief too, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like if you have a certain pain or
sleep apnea, whatever kind of issue.
You just tell them
PTSD,
that I have this and this. Which strain is good for those two, and y'all can be like, oh, this right here will take care of this, and this, and maybe have an edible of this, right?
Well, and so we were talking about this the other day with about bud tenders and training new employees that, like, say, have never dealt with cannabis before. Okay, so you're trying to teach this person to deal with a patient and to explain things to the patient and all this. Well, you can't. A lot of them are like, well, I don't know a lot about different strains and which strains do what and all this. And it's like, okay, well, you need to know about what strains we carry in the store.
Right.
I could care less if you know about every strain that's out there, because nowadays there's so many strains out there. There's
I know, man.
I think it started with 12 original strains throughout the world or something.
Oh, I'm not even sure on the exact amount.
Thousands
it's just crazy.
Now.
The breeding that they've done in that, it's
which is
amazing. Phenomenal. It's awesome. It really is, because they're able to breed certain properties out and certain properties in.
To make it do certain things, right?
Oh, yeah. Or to not do certain things, like to not have any THC hardly at all, and then have more CBD, so you get more of the pain relief and the inflammation relief and all that stuff.
What it's doing for kids with seizures is amazing, dude.
That blows my... And Parkinson's, too.
Yes, and it's so
that blows my
wonderful.
mind. I had no idea that it was actually medicinal for long
RSO
kids.
has done some really great things. RSO is Rick Simpson oil.
Yeah.
And that is just a full cannabis extraction. Like, it just is the full plant. They basically juice, what they call juice, the whole plant.
I mean, it helps with cancer, dude.
Oh, it's
inflammation.
Yeah.
Man,
yeah.
I could see juicing the whole plant helping with the whole spectrum of what's reported on.
And that's why for me it's important that the patients get the chance to cultivate their own.
Yeah.
So that's another side of it.
Because I mean, what patients can afford a constant $100 bag of,
yes,
or even worse, what they're going to be charging, here in the state right now because of.
Oh yeah.
What would you say dispensary prices are retail? Are they like compared to the black market?
Oh, 50% easy.
Less, more.
Yeah, 50% less.
Yes.
Oh no, 50% more as far as the dispensaries, especially
minimum.
in this state to start. I mean, we were doing some comparisons, because I am in the industry. We've been doing some comparisons with that. And Arizona, for instance, a 1,000 milligram, 1 gram cartridge of distillate would go for $68. And that's what a 500 is going for. It's going for 70 here in the state. 70, 75 in the state. So, and I get it. Startup costs, I get it.
But it's going to be great for Arkansas.
But the patience, that's what it's about.
I know.
For me, that's what it's about. So,
they should make insurance cover this. They really should. It's a medicine.
Is insurance covering any of it?
No.
None?
And
it's terrible.
If it ever was to cover it, it would have to be. I believe it'd probably have to be like a federal building or a state
that's
building.
Probably another issue there. Yeah,
you wouldn't be able to get it from a regular vendor like you normally would. Like that. Okay, like if and I agree with that. If I would agree with it. If you say you have an EBT card, well, maybe you should be buying from an EBT store. Yeah. There's a store where you go and you to a certain extent. I mean, that's a whole different subject, but. As far as cannabis is, they might have to go with their insurance and go to this one store, and this is the only store that they can go to. They can't go get this other medicine over here and try this because the insurance doesn't cover that store. It covers this store, But,
those are some interesting... Because, the cancer patients, they need it the most, and, some can't afford it. That's expensive.
No,
especially with all the meds they're already
on. And to deny, a patient that's going through something like that, that actually needs it. That's what's, especially a child. That's
people have moved. I've seen a lot of stories about people who moved to Colorado when Colorado was like the hub, and just had to basically uproot their family just because their kid is having 80 seizures a day, and that was the only way to alleviate it. And it's like, here's the video of it being alleviated.
Yeah, move
like,
away from their families, away from their kids' friends and families.
It blows my mind. We can travel, just a few states over, and it's completely legal. But
so just one state touching us is medicinally legal. Is that correct?
Oklahoma,
Mississippi, and Tennessee is fully illegal. Oklahoma is medicinally.
Is Missouri not following suit on any
I think they're following soon.
Well, see, we're up in 2019 in Arkansas, or 2020 rather. It's supposed to be on the ballot here. I'm going to read a couple other
for recreation
things here. So 2016 is when issue 6 was on the November ballot. It was approved that yes, legalizing medical marijuana for 17 qualifying conditions, creating this medical marijuana commission, allocating a tax. Issue 6 went into effect November 9th. Cultivation license lawsuit. There's all of this red tape, and we didn't really... so when did the first dispensary open here in the state? It was 2019. It was 2019. I think I've got that article here. May 2019.
Hot Springs was, I believe, the first one.
Yeah, May 2019. Hot Springs, Arkansas. 2.5 years after Arkansans voted to legalize medical marijuana.
Yeah, it took 2 years for that.
What are your thoughts on that?
That it took 2 years?
Yes.
Ridiculous.
Not surprising, but at the same time, it's
was it when you moved to Arizona? What are the laws like out there?
So when I moved to Arizona, it was 2013. They became legal in 2010. So they had 3 years roughly before I got there, but I was told they got stuff going really, really fast.
Recreational too, or no?
No, just medicinal.
Medicinal, okay.
Now that's another good topic to talk about is knowing the difference between that when you have a patient coming into a dispensary. We've talked about that before.
Yeah.
You have patients coming in, but you might have recreational users coming in. But
users.
Yeah, the users. Reefer madness.
I'd say hundreds of billions.
But when I was talking to what we call patient consultants or bud tenders, some people call them bud tenders and stuff. I like patient consultants. It's it's a little bit more professional in my opinion. But when you're teaching them to deal with patients and helping them with their issues. There's so many different ways to go about that, and knowing the difference between a medicinal user and a recreational user is a huge step up whenever they come through the door. Like you obviously don't say anything to the patient when they come in, and you don't call them a customer, you don't call them anything like it's a patient, when they come in. But you can definitely tell when you have somebody coming in that's not in dire need of what they're using. You know what I mean? And so that's I think it needs to be recreational and completely across the board, but they need to have their medicinal stores and their recreational stores.
Absolutely,
because
I can agree with that.
Having that where you need to consult with, like, say 2 or 3 patients when they come in, and then have 2 or 3 patients that already knows what they want. And I believe every person, no matter if they think they're a recreational user or not, they're a patient. They're using it for relief.
Mm-hmm.
So how many people that come in are actually like, not necessarily, but terminal, on the spectrum of being terminally ill? Mm-hmm. Would you say a significant, like, is that how you're like, okay, well, you look sick.
I would definitely say there's more patients coming in than not patients, because the not patients are on the black market side of it.
Still, okay.
I mean, they're still doing their...
Yeah, because it's way cheaper.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's way cheaper.
Well, and there's somebody out there that's doing it illegal, that's cultivating it or something like that. There's always going to be that. There's always going to be that market.
When the stores lower their prices, the black market will just lower their prices.
Well, do you think that some of these people who get their card, so how much can you grow with your card? You mentioned that a second ago. In Arkansas.
In Arkansas, you can't cultivate at all.
But you could in Arizona.
You couldn't, yeah.
How much if you had a card? 12 plants.
That's
Holy
anything
shit.
with the root. So, like, you couldn't have any seedlings going or anything like that have a root structure, because those are going to be considered a plant. So, like, say you had 6 in there. So you had 6 in veg, and 6 in flower, and then 6 as seedlings. Yeah. Their seedlings had roots. Well, you're over. Yep. So you're in trouble.
You can't be pre-starting.
No, yeah. So it's tricky if you're going to be doing it as a patient. But 12 plants is plenty. 6 plants is plenty.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, you can yield up to 4 pounds off of one plant, right?
Oh man, it's well, you'll have to wait a while, and that's the thing. If some people, they need their medicine. Yeah. So if they're going to be doing it, they're going to get impatient. They might harvest it too early. So educating the patients is really important on how to grow their own medicine and all that stuff when it is made recreational and they're allowed to do that. Because I think it will be made recreational in Arkansas.
I think it'll do that. I think it'll go recreational in 2020. What sort of changes do you think that'll open up for the?
Well, it's already talked about 6 plants. So the person 21 and older would be able to cultivate 6 plants. So the possibilities are endless when it comes to that.
So the age is 21 here in Arkansas for
I believe so.
a card.
That's what I had read. Yeah.
I think if that happens, then it'll get cheaper in the store, and then it'll just be more people.
Well, see, I think the farmer markets are going to flood.
Yeah.
With some really, really good edibles, some really good, just really good distillate, some really good concentrated products and all that stuff. I think the farmers markets will go crazy over that.
Just think about all the young farmers that are just going to quit planting corn in half of their fields.
Think about the CBD products and the hemp products.
Yeah, that's already starting to. Yeah. We have some friends that do that. I'm trying to get them to come on the podcast. Forge Creek hemp products.
Shout out.
You remember that guy, Cody Butler from high school? I called him Andy Milonakis all the time. Yeah. I hope he's not sore about it. I think it's funny. But I'm trying to get him to come on the podcast.
It's a few of them.
For a while. They have been super busy promoting. They've been setting up booths everywhere. We do that sometimes too, but I'm not going to say we don't have to anymore. But
see, and that was a huge thought of mine before I moved back to Arkansas, was to get into the CBD market. I mean, CBD is such a popular thing. I mean, I take a tincture every morning. I mean, I dose CBD every day. Every morning I take it.
Does it help you with inflammation, jiu-jitsu related stuff?
Yeah. I mean, I honestly can run, like, everybody's complaining about shoulders hurting when they're out at work, and all that. Yeah. And all these guys at these places that I'm working at are all complaining about just pains and all that stuff. And I'm going to class afterwards.
Do you do a lot of,
I'm driving, hour and 30 minutes and then going to class afterwards.
Do you lift a lot above your shoulders?
No,
Anything
it's
like
really
that?
a lot of repetition. So like in some defoliation, you're pulling leaves off and all that stuff.
Right.
It's just constant. And when you have, that many plants in a building,
Right.
yeah, just defoliating 360
That's
plants
work.
is
That's work in a garden, and
man.
that's hard work.
Yeah, it's no joke. Or just even watering. You're holding wands, doing the veg rooms. And
So
stuff.
it's not on an automated watering system?
I can't talk about it too much, but the automatic stuff is set up on the watering side of it. Yeah.
Do you believe in hydroponics over dirt?
I do.
Just straight dirt?
Hydroponics, yes. Hydroponics is really great, but it's very temperamental.
Yeah.
It's very it's
What do
very
you mean by
delicate.
that?
It's very delicate.
Delicate, yeah.
Like you can really just mess it up really
with
quickly.
the pH balances in the water and stuff like that.
Everything.
Correct.
If you do something just wrong, you can the whole.
I could see that.
All of them.
Burn the plant.
Yeah, because they're all sharing the same water.
True.
I mean it's.
Oh yeah, so that's a whole crop going bad.
Yeah. So soil gives you that independent one plant, and it's almost like a security blanket.
Yeah.
I mean it's just it filters in the bad stuff and it balances out everything. So it's great. Soil's great. Gotta love dirt.
In a pretty big room, is it hard to keep like the air at the optimal temperature and like humidity and stuff?
Yeah, I wonder what utilities run on like a
ridiculous.
dispensary like the ones that are springing up.
Oh man, they're crazy. So there's actually a meter outside that rings when the water is being used too much.
Yeah.
Or you went over your limit. It's constantly
Anything
ringing.
with like the
It's
humidity,
constantly
stuff
ringing,
like that, like carbon dioxide. Do you ever have to like blast
Now,
carbon
I
tanks
can
in it?
talk to you more about the patient side, of cultivating than I can really the facility side of it.
Well, I mean, just like in Arizona.
Yeah. But so for me as a patient, when I cultivated in 13, I used a tent. I used a grow tent. Now I talked to CPS. I talked to the sheriff's department before I cultivated, just to make sure that I wasn't doing anything out of my comfort zone. And that I wasn't going to lose my kids. That was very important. That I did everything by the books to make sure that I didn't risk my kids at all. It wasn't worth it for me to do that. So after talking with them and finding out what I needed to do, I had a locked room. I had carbon filters to keep the smell away, so you didn't smell them. My tent, had a AC type unit hooked up to it.
So you weren't just Walter Whiting it, man, just like in the camper.
No, I wasn't campering it out. No,
dude, we had one of those across the street from the gym a while back. It was great.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
it was great.
And we need to put the sidewalk in, mind you. You know what I'm saying? So we can funnel people all that foot traffic over there. Yep. Straight to the meth dealer's house.
That's good.
Anyway.
I would love to be camping out across from the gym, though. I mean,
Me too. I used to beg Cora to, and I'm glad we didn't now that we're likely moving. But I used to beg Cora to let me build like a shop house next to the gym. I'm like, it'll be great. We'll just walk over. She's like, no. It's not happening.
I just miss having my mats. Back in Arizona, I had 2 living rooms, and my front living room was totally matted.
Dude, I want to, and honestly, I may do all this if we get the new gym and just do it there. But we are eventually going to build a carport out there. I'm going to continue to build my pad up out there, and if I do that, I'd like to be able to do some private lessons and stuff out here at the house.
Well, some videos
or filming. Yeah, dude, exactly, man. Exactly.
Separate that a little bit from your gym.
Or do it all at the gym, or do it all everywhere. That's ultimately the goal. Is like, because that's the thing. You never know when that inspiration's going to hit. It's like I got a guitar in my office. I can do podcasts in my office. I can record music, audio, video in my office. I can't record martial arts moves at work.
Speaking of guitars, real quick, I want some bass lessons. How much do those cost?
I'm not very good at the bass, dude. I can play the bass, but I started off, I just haven't kept with it. I've been playing, I got this looper pedal, and I have a bass in there. We can jam around a little bit. But I've been playing the bass a little bit, and I'm not if I would have never stopped, I would. In my mind, I might stop the bass, but
I always liked the bass. You know, it was. I don't know. There was something about the tone of it. You know,
it is a lot of fun, man. I need to. I've been learning scales and like just doing all the student side of guitar because I play guitar for several years now. Now I'm approaching it like almost like I approach jiu-jitsu essentially. Like I'm learning all the nook and crannies. Like I just like hit a real like turned a corner on understanding scales, and I was like, holy shit, I see it. And they were like explaining how they're like chord formations, and I was just like, oh my god. Because I understand bar chords, so I was just like, oh, okay. Because I just never played leads. I was always a rhythm player, and I moved from playing bass to playing rhythm, like acoustic guitar primarily. But I just recently got like a whole bunch of pedals and a pedal board. I'm in trouble, dude. Okay, I'm not allowed to have fun like that. Okay.
Yeah, you can't be doing all that.
Better mind your P's and Q's. Anyway, I am allowed though. It's nice because that's the thing. Like I just kind of my argument is that just look what we're doing right now. Obviously, I like recording audio, and if you go to the YouTube channels, I like recording video, and I've spent like 1,000 hours doing both.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah. Well, now you got to check out my YouTube channel if you.
You have one?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, do you want to give it a plug here on the podcast?
I'm not famous or anything by any means, but
what do you have on there?
It's some Doom Buggy videos, you know.
Oh, I've seen you doing some Doom Buggy stuff.
There's some stuff on.
What
there,
is it?
It's a Coop Owner BE, COUPEOWNER.
Coop Owner.
Coop Owner BE.
All right, there's your plug.
Yeah, so just a few little videos on there.
Do you have a Doom Buggy?
I did. I had 2 of them out. Actually, I've had 3 of them.
Yeah, living out in Arizona, I would have to.
Had a handful of quads and dirt bikes. And
yeah.
Just, you know, that desert. I love the desert.
Oh, yeah.
So
I loved Arizona when I went there, dude. All I thought the whole time I was there was like, man, I wish I had my side-by-side.
Mm-hmm.
I need to have Dustin Qualls and Vince on to talk about Volkswagens.
Yeah. I was over at Dustin's house for his son's birthday.
Of those.
I have Baja Bugs and stuff. Yeah. Devin and Harper are about the same age, huh?
Yeah. Actually, I've got a picture of them in the hospital together. Me holding Harper and Dustin holding
Wow.
Devin. So yeah, they were real close, like 4 or 5 days or something. I mean, Harper's is April or July 4th, and Devin's I think July 17th or 4. Can't remember what day it is exactly, but good kids.
Yeah, they've trained with us forever. So
yeah.
They're awesome.
And the Volkswagens are awesome. I've seen both of his Bajas over
there. It would be one like, dude, there was a Joe Rogan where they were podcasting on freaking wristwatches. I'm just like, there's wristwatch people out there? Wow. So, dude, I think it would be cool to do a podcast on just like Volkswagen, like, because Dustin's got a bus.
Yeah, so that's the first car that I learned how to drive standard in was a Volkswagen. That's really
nice. Yeah, dude. So what do you think about people like not so I guess you can't even can you get that many standard vehicles anymore? I think that's not.
Yeah, I mean they still have them, but they're getting more and more obsolete each day. You know, I mean it's they're just not around as much. The automatics they're seamless. They don't have any issues. You know, people don't want to mess with them. They're doing like 100,000 mile fluids on them, so that you don't have to do anything with them until 100,000 miles.
Yeah.
So it's just extended life. In automotive, that's something I did for 13 years, 14 years. So.
Did you do that while you worked at the dispensary in Arizona or no?
Before.
Yeah,
I managed an automotive shop for 5 years and successfully. Actually, I was going to buy the shop, but I ended up not buying the shop because of a land issue. So, but.
Oh, dude.
Made good money in the automotive industry, man. Really good money doing that, and made some really good contacts, really good people.
Were you moved back and following the issue? How long had you been back when you came into the gym?
5
Not
days,
very long.
4 days.
Were you here and around and following the issue of the city blocking the dispensary over the zoning here in Russellville?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
As far as the details, I don't know the details as much. I just know that they were having an issue with it.
Well, they were hanging them up on zoning, which is the issue that we've
That you're dealing with.
Yeah, we did, and hopefully we can say dealt with, but I will continue to deal with it in different ways. But basically, they did a podcast, this sort of show that a guy was on the podcast 2 times ago, Nathan George. They do this thing called Sass in the Beard, and they did a pundit sort of breakdown of like zoning issues that we ran into. But it's a serious thing. But it was basically they were using a technicality to hang them up on getting set up as getting set. Or like, well, you guys. That's just not zoned for a pharmacy out there at the end of town, and our morals. Like, so that's another big thing here. Did you see that out west? Like the moral browbeating argument of like, don't you be thinking those funny thoughts, Brian? Those psychoactive drugs that make you think those funny thoughts like that. You know? But I think that's a big perception, and maybe it's generational. Like, I've had a couple of guests comment on that. But that was the thing, is like they blocked it, and then the people that are going to open the dispensary filed suit. Then they called a special meeting, and they're like, okay, we're going to approve the special use permit. But the thing is like in the original meeting, the commentary that they were providing was the reason that they weren't giving them the exception on zoning. Because it's just like, yes, out there at the end of town on South Arkansas where there's nothing, it's like, of course it's not zoned for a pharmacy. It's not really zoned for anything, or it's zoned very liberally. It's like technical hang up, but it's like they were morally like invested on why they didn't want marijuana in the community.
Yeah.
You know? What do you think about that?
I think they need to quit worrying about banks and churches and
Dollar Generals
and bring something else that's going to help the community. You know, there's a lot of talk about that casino thing too. You know, and it's like, look,
yes,
I mean,
yes.
I'm not a casino person. I could care less about that too. You know, when it comes down to it, when they talk about bringing alcohol into the to Russellville, you know, and making it a wet county.
We're a dry county.
Yeah.
Even though they sell alcohol
it's like,
at
look,
all the
it comes down to the
restaurants.
income about it. And if it's the income, bring medical cannabis in. That's going to solve your income issue right there just on its own. You know, like, but
they keep it dry so you go to the restaurants and buy
That's something
beer.
that it's like, it sounds crazy, but I'm like, yeah, let's tax it. Like, let's tax it and use that for bettering everything in our state.
Yeah.
You know, from education,
the
infrastructure.
that are in the industry, that's what they want. You know, to a certain extent, that's what they want. They want to help the community at the same time as make the money that they need to make. It's obviously a lucrative business. You know, I mean, there's plenty of money to go. You know, to go around and help the schools and everything else around here. Even
Did you see
for that matter.
anything like that in Arizona where, like, you're like, oh, that's a great usage of those dollars? Or, like, did they have funds set up that are appropriated specifically from cannabis-related tax dollars?
Yeah, they had funds set up for that. And a lot of it went into the school. I mean, tons of it went into the school.
Dude, I think, well, just like what that casino's doing, dude. It's like, if it's going to be, I mean, and then it's like, so, like, what would you call those vices? Like gambling, alcohol, but it's just like, how can we, you know, we're calling a vice something that cures or moderates 80 seizures a day, or Parkinson's. Like that video, that older gentleman with the drops under his tongue and then being able to make himself a sandwich. Have you seen that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, man, because he couldn't even function.
Yeah.
Right?
And there's hundreds of cases like that. Hundreds of cases of people that can barely move around and function, and this medicine helps them. But yet we got to deny it because it's being abused by some others.
Yeah.
You know?
It's not even that, too. It's the hemp. What hemp can replace, man. It replaces so
Fuel.
much,
Somebody,
dude.
yeah, I've been joking with people. They're like, because like straws and plastic bags are illegal, which like I get it. I'm really like I got no problem. Like I'm not the one who put them onto the market, But it's just like, sir, would you like a receipt with that? And it's like when are we gonna stop printing receipts? It's like we live in a digital era. Like I don't need receipts for my business, Like I mean, some receipts I keep on like larger transactions, but it's like it's all digitally available at my bank. I have a business card. I have a corporate card. It's like, why are we still printing receipts in mass? Like, and that's what you're saying with hemp. It's like that could replace paper.
Oh, dude.
You guys cutting down trees for paper.
Anything made from plastic can be made from hemp. Hemp requires half the amount of water of cotton. 1 acre of hemp produces the same amount of paper as 4.1 acres of trees. 1 acre of hemp produces more oxygen than 25 acres of forest.
Thanks, young Jamie. From Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
You just did it.
It's ridiculous why, I mean, so many crazy things.
Well, they've
like
known
that
it for so long.
I know.
I mean,
It's so crazy. I'll tell you one thing I want to do. There's a few historical research projects I want to do, and if I get my PhD, I will do. But like the history of drugs, fascinating. Like I'm all into researching about like shamanistic cultures existing, like even in Egypt, man. Like the cult of Amun. They were into some weird shit, bro. They were building these tiny little pyramids in Miro.
Yeah.
Down at the ancient southern border. First cataract of the Nile. Anyway.
Yeah. Oath. Thoth.
I haven't heard anything.
Dude,
about that yet.
it's okay. It's wild, but here's the thing. Like in South America, there's like thousands and thousands and thousands, tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of pyramids. Structures like that, whether it's like ziggurat style where it's like stepped up or but that's like there's all these pyramids, and there's this Aztec culture that sacrificed, I think it was before Spanish contact, so I think it was in 1514, and they sacrificed 84,000 people. They said they were in communication with the war god. Graham Hancock goes into it. But it got me super interested. And I've always been interested in like the counterculture and like because that being like a portion of like if you looked at the history of drugs. But it's like,
is that a fact though, or is that just like a folk tale?
Let's look it up. Let's look it up.
Well, now the shamans also they used herbs like cannabis and stuff to.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, imagine if you just tripped too long. Or like if they were like human sacrifice in Aztec culture here. Let's see what they're 1521. I'm trying to find.
They're using ayahuasca.
Well, that's it. That's just it. Like I wonder how much of this, and maybe it's just another side of yourself or what. Not getting into all of that, but. I mean, I wonder how many of these reports we read in history, or it's like, what is the explanation for human sacrifice? 84,000 people slaughtered in 4 days. The Great Pyramid at Tenochtitlan, which is Mexico City. Few in the West.
It's a donation of energy.
I don't know.
There's this giant amount of energy.
This website,
80,000
Intellectual
people.
Takeout.
They wanted the blood too.
Yeah.
I've seen sacrifice tables on rocks where
the drain.
They would drain the blood. The table is on a tilt, and there's little funnels around the side, so it drains the blood.
Now, is that what that was for, or was that to collect rainwater?
Interesting.
Dude, there's some bowls on that. There's some.
Astronaut
Have you
theorist.
have you guys seen those bowls on the Giza Plateau that are like quartz bowls? There's a great documentary called The Pyramid Code, and I'm like, how the hell did they make those? Like, it's like these basins. They're huge. Like,
I think I've watched part of that.
yeah, it's great.
Possibly.
It's great. It's a good one. Let's see. 1521, Aztec priests using razor-sharp obsidian blades sliced open the chest of sacrificial victims and offered their beating hearts to the gods, then tossed the victims' lifeless bodies down the steps of the towering temple.
That's where they get that from that movie.
I was just about to say the same thing.
3000 BC or 30,000 BC
something
or
like that.
can't
10,000
10,000.
BC. I
Is
think.
that not what's that other one? Apocalypto.
Oh, yeah,
no,
it might
that's
be
the one that
that.
I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Apocalypto. That's it.
Okay, but the story is apparently is that 84,000 people were sacrificed in 4 days, and it's because
That's insane.
these shamans were in communication with the war god because of the types of mushrooms they were doing. Which, while we're talking about cannabis legality, it's like psilocybin is going up for medicinal treatment
Yeah.
all over, and
Well,
it's like,
Yeah.
how are we going to have people in communication with the war god? Is what I want to know.
It's,
Well,
yeah.
I think they're going to do it in safe places.
What's
you
the
know,
war god?
That's why I don't know
the-
what is a work.
You know, in therapy, they're going to use it in therapy where therapists, like the patient, can
Draw
really
the war god out in
open
front
up.
of the counselor.
What
It's
if that's a
their
way to
inner
see if
war
people are
god.
crazy?
I don't know. Well, you know, they say cannabis isn't. Cannabis can draw out the. If you start at a young age, can actually draw
Yeah.
out hereditary issues.
What is a young age for marijuana?
Oh man! Well, they say anything. You know what Joe Rogan said: don't start smoking until after 30 or something like that. Or,
After
25 to
30.
30.
Like,
You know,
yeah,
I was
that's what
saying,
fucking
like, I
30.
felt so much smarter, like, as I started, as I turned 30. I
Yeah.
was like, I made another conscious leap, and I was like, hell yeah.
Wisdom comes with age.
no.
Yeah, it is. It's like it's an experience thing, too. It's just like it's like I accumulated a lot of
That's why
some
your dad tries to
additional
warn you.
understanding.
I feel like as I've got older, though, I've distanced myself with retaining useless information.
Yeah.
Like I stopped. I don't know. I just
Bro, are
don't-
you saying the pyramids at Miro is useless information?
No. I'm not saying.
I know, dude. I'm just kidding. But it's useless to you guys.
No, it's very interesting.
It's not if
Like,
you're
I
into
try
it.
to. So I have to learn things based on repetition. Like I just have to repeat them like over and over, and that's why like so jujitsu for me like I might not know a ton of techniques, you know, but I do it. My body tells me to do.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm more based on feel than actually too much thought. You know, and I don't know if that's because
Reacting.
my medical history or you know.
Right. I mean, yeah. Everybody's got their own style. I try to roll with my eyes closed.
There you go.
I think
the
it's
most I can, so I can just feel.
But with just information in general, like it's just if it doesn't help, like I learned so many things like trades after school. Whenever I got out of high school, I just
Right.
Oh,
I
yeah.
taught myself how to weld. You know, like I can work on cars, like anything mechanical or anything that I can get my
Right.
hands on that I can do. You know, I can do all that stuff. But if you want me to write a paper on, you know, my
Bro, I got
theory
you.
on something, like I can tell you. You know, I might mumble it out, but I'll tell you. You
Yeah.
know, like
I've had to have like some students are like that, and they like think they're total pieces of shit, and I'm like, hey, you know what? I suck at math. Sit down and tell me what you know.
yeah.
Like it's you gotta it's crazy because like I've struggled with like math and science is not my strong suit at all. But if it's like if it's fine arts related, I'm good, dude. But I think there's a lot of comparisons to be had with like it's just like you said information. It's like jiu-jitsu, knowledge in general. It's like you very rarely ever are like, I'm just getting smarter right now. It's just happening. I feel it. But like one day after the accumulation of like a whole shit ton of knowledge, you turn a page and you're like, oh man, look at all this other information. Like it, or you just look at what you've been looking at differently. And I mean, I see people having light bulbs all the time, but it's people also report in jiu-jitsu being on this plateau. Have you ever heard that?
Yeah. What is it? You
What is
won't tell me what it is.
It's the plateau, man. It's where you're not learning anything. You feel like a total piece of shit. But it's like
I'm there right now.
It's like that right now is probably like when you're actually about to turn the page. It's like you don't even appreciate the process. You know, it's like it's happening around you all the time if you just show up. So what I'm not saying, but it's like the plateau is like the droning on. Like, it's like what we're talking about.
I still love it. I don't feel like I'm droning on.
Well, I mean, but it is that. I mean, it's like what we were talking about with, like, just daily life earlier. It's like, well, this is, we're going to die someday. Let's keep doing it, Just in spite of that, we're just going to keep moving on.
Well, see, and that's what, for me, like, it's just something I'm going to choose to do my whole life. Like, I'm going to do martial arts my whole life. Oh, yeah. Like, I'm not ever going to not do martial arts.
Yeah. Some people never even turned that page of what you just said. I remember when I turned that page where I was like, there's no way I ever stopped this.
Yeah, I knew.
No, you're always a student. Yep. I mean, you're always learning. I mean, there's never no learning.
I know. I knew it the day that I finally come to class. And then, when we have seminars and I see a black belt giving a seminar, and then I look over and I see other black belts' minds being blown, I just know it's a never-ending game. Like, oh, well, you never.
I kind of feel like when I learn from a black belt like Jack or Brandon, and then like when I like go to a panic show, it's a real similar experience.
Because it's.
Like you're just like melt down. Like when they show you something, like we had this friend of mine. You'll get trained with him eventually. His name's Jack Toffrey. Like does privates with Hickson and shit at his house. He's been on the podcast.
Now is he a black belt under Hickson or?
It's a black belt under one of Hickson's first American black belts, Dave Kama. Right, but Jack's a great dude, and he's taught me probably more about jiu-jitsu than anyone. But he came in and taught me how to do the flower sweep. Most recently, this move it was like the second move I ever learned in jiu-jitsu, like 13 years ago. And I'm just like, he's like melting my universe over there. Like, hey guys, like here's what you do when they stop the flower sweep. Like, you just get it this way.
Yeah,
it's like something I've never thought about, and it's like the most common way they stop it. And I was just like,
well, and what's funny is like when we were doing the Bravo choke not too long ago. Kolby, and I know you've showed him this before, using the legs, scissoring the legs up and like pushing over to the side, and Kolby was like, dude, you're blowing my mind right now. Yeah. Like this, I just didn't, it wasn't clicking,
I knew to do it, but you showing me like that.
And sometimes, like for me, I've been showed stuff before by somebody else, and then somebody else,
that happens all the time
I'm working
too.
with somebody and I'm like, whoa, I've seen that before. That's just like clicking with me,
I think it's a couple of things. I think it's the person that explains it in a way that speaks to you, or it's the amount of information you've learned between the last time you thought about that and now.
Yeah.
Like I always I refer to people sometimes on certain techniques. I'm like, I've never received instruction on that. Like, it doesn't mean I don't know what they're talking about.
Right.
It just means that in no class I've ever been to, or no seminar, private lesson, whatever, have I learned that. Doesn't mean that I haven't worked with it, or but then too I'll institute moves in that I just I start hitting, because I'm like, if I've discovered it, it's just like I don't really need to go learn it. I mean, it'll come up eventually, but I'll institute it into the consciousness of the gym if I'm hitting it all the time on somebody for sure.
Right.
I just try to judge the opponent and how they're attacking me and what I'm going to be able to pull on them or what I'm going to be able to get on them. Like I have guys that keep stacking me, and I love playing guard,
And choke your beard, dude.
The problem, and this is probably where you can help me, is when I get like knee on belly, like I lose my train of thought. Like I've got a baseball choke. I know I've got that baseball choke.
I used to be I know a lot of knee on belly stuff. We can
just
definitely work on
pull up on that gi and shove your knee into the gut.
We've got I did a video from knee on belly, 10 submissions from knee on belly. Check that out. But I used to do it a lot, and I still do it. I like work it into my passing game a whole lot. I use it less and less as time goes on for some reason. I don't know. Like I kind of got away from it. I don't really like it for MMA. I don't like hitting from it.
It can
Well,
also
see-
be a knee to the belly if you like
Oh,
put
drop
your
on
force-
somebody.
I
It
seen
really-
somebody tap to
It really
the other
should
day.
be knee on chest.
Oh yeah, you can tap somebody with it.
Like he threw his knee on the belly, and it
Dude,
was just like. a
let's
knee to the
talk
belly.
about that. It's like I'm getting over a rib popping out again. It's like the third or fourth time I've injured it in 3 or 4 years, and it's like those are the things that really fuck people up in jiu-jitsu are compression positions, right?
Yeah.
So like something like a good kesa gatami in judo or a head arm position, like where you're just like riding on them, like what Josh Barnett submitted Dean Lister with in Metamoris. That or like a knee on belly, tapping somebody with a knee on belly. It's like, dude, and it's like, I get it, but it's like sometimes people don't get like, oh, I'm supposed to tap to this position. This position's a sub two.
Yep.
Like people don't like get that on wrist locks a lot of time. If I touch on a wrist lock and somebody didn't tap at me, I'm not trying to just trash their wrist like while we're rolling. You know what I'm saying?
I was given advice right when I started jiu-jitsu, and it was to tap often and early.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's good. That's sound.
And,
why?
So like right out of the gate, I mean, it was like every time I thought like it was gonna go south, you know, like I probably did do it
In
a
the
little bit too
beginning,
much, you know.
definitely.
No pride, no ego.
It's
But
like
now
the
on the-
longer you're with it, the less of the tap early exists.
Yeah.
Because you know, like, well, so for example, like that's applicable. Like I know when you have me in a heel hook.
Yes.
Like I know when it's game over. Like I know when it's time to tap, and it's not necessarily that it's early or late. It's just like
like, don't
it's
even-
on time. You
Well,
know.
see, and that Aikido taught me that. My Aikido training taught me that. Taught me to take a fast strike because they worked really fast at that dojo that I was working at. Training at. They made fast strikes. It was fast strikes, but as soon as you took it, you slowed it down.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, and then and so that getting to a point and then not hurting somebody, I'm fine with that. I can get somebody in an arm bar and not stress it so much. Like I'm gonna get to that point, I'm gonna hold it.
Control, man. You can't. People get excited on submissions.
Start just wild cranking
pace
it.
yourself, go slow,
The
you know?
metaphor I use for people, if you haven't shot, it doesn't work, and I'm sure we've lost anybody that was. I guess maybe some people that like listening to about cannabis stuff would like listening to jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, there's quite a few of those people.
Yeah, we have got off topic there.
We
right?
yeah.
But real quick on the jiu-jitsu topic, since we're
Back to jiu-jitsu, ladies and gentlemen.
Since we're still on it, real quick though, the knee on belly really should be knee on chest, should it not? Because you're controlling,
man.
you're controlling the top of the.
It's so
I could say
painful.
more like knee on solar plex, base of the
Like
sternum.
in a self-defense situation, you're not really caring so much about like crushing somebody's.
I don't
I don't know.
I like,
a
dude,
solar
that
plex
soft
area.
spot
Right.
right
The solar
under your
plex,
breastplate.
yeah.
That's where I like, dude. That's where like it puts all sorts of pressure on your chest and everything because you can grind the knee down and in.
Well, you can punch somebody there and make them throw up. too.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
solar plex area will make it.
For sure.
But yeah, so anyways, that was my split back over to jiu-jitsu now.
Yeah, people. That's how that and throws, man. Those two things. If you're not careful, chest
that's
compressions
judo,
and throws
I mean,
can really injure people.
That judo class that I went to after that seminar,
How was that?
Man,
Where you out?
man, it was hard on me on the throws. I was like, man, I haven't been thrown around like this, And a couple of times it was like, he's just doing the throw on me, but it's like, damn, kind of aggravated me. I'm like, God dang,
Yeah.
he threw the piss out of me. It's
Dude, like I think that night that you were in, if I'm not mistaken, they were working the Uchimatas. Were you doing like an inner thigh reap?
yeah.
Dude, that is the fastest.
And I love it. I love those. I really do. But it's just a totally different kind of throw than what I've been used to. Like, and what it takes me back to kind of my sensei back there, Mr. Weber. He could act, like he was really pissed off at you, and like he would just turn his face into like this. And then grab you by the throat, and he talked about doing that, he talked about like just your intensity with somebody and controlling a situation, and he just the way he could make you feel like the scenario was real. You know?
Oh yeah.
I'm like, God dang, man, you're
There's
that's pretty
people
intense.
that'll do that to you.
He was a police officer for 10 years, and taught at the police academy for a long time in Oro Valley, and
So why do you think Aikido gets such a bad rep?
man,
Got an Aikido book right over there. I'm not
in my
talking shit.
opinion, I guess I would say the O-Sensei Aikido is probably why. A lot of the videos that you see from the O-Sensei Aikido would be, what I've seen. Like, so Mr. Bo, Sensei Bo, who brought it to the States from Shota Morita, which is the Nihon Goshin Aikido practitioner. When Mr. Bo came over, he did wrestling too. Like he was in the Army or Navy. I can't remember exactly. I don't know all my details right now because it's been a while since I went over it. But Mr. Bo was a wrestler as well. He did some wrestling. So up in New York, he had a really, really different look on Aikido than I would say your traditional Aikido is, just because it wasn't this lead out. They weren't wearing the hakamas.
Yeah.
They weren't doing all that. It was more wrist manipulation, control, and small circles, not big circles. The circles got small. All the lead outs and the hooks. There was a lot of wrist breaks. So the traditional style for me, what I've seen a lot of, was just really lead outs and this unrealistic attacks that these people were going to be throwing at you. Nobody's going to be punching and then leaving their hand out there, for 5 seconds so you can pull them out and throw them around.
Yeah.
So I think that's and there's a lot of people talking about it really in a negative way. So once you get, it's just like everybody saying that Nickelback sucked.
Nickelback does suck, bro.
Well, okay.
Everybody
and I'm not arguing the fact. What I'm saying is it gained popularity because they just talked about it, So
it is a culture thing. Like that is like Nickelback.
Everybody
sucks.
talks about Steven Seagal, but he had a real good skill. Like he could.
Yeah, I mean.
So you're saying it's stereotypical to hate on Aikido?
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
It's totally
useful.
agree.
Yes.
It's all useful, man. It's all jiu-jitsu.
Well, and that's my point is, like if you can take concepts from anything and make some of it usable, then you're doing yourself justice. Like if you're not, then you're leaving information out there that could be used to benefit you.
You ever use the Joe staff very much?
Yeah, a little bit.
Or do you know?
Mainly for defenses,
Yeah, for sure. Application on that's Roland was showing me against the kendos. I had the Bokan rather against a rattan, so like a single stick, like a 28-inch, against a Joe staff and against a knife entry to Shianagi, and we're just doing it off empty hand at first. But then he's like, here's how you do it on the Wing Chun dummy. I'm just like, dude.
Which he's high rank coral belt, right?
He's a coral belt in judo. I don't know what. I heard he was a 2nd degree in Aikido, but I've never really asked him.
See, when it comes to like weapons and stuff, I want to deal with the scenario based like training situation.
It's fun.
Like having multiple weapons, like though having a stick and then a knife, for me isn't usually a realistic situation.
Right.
And so like for me, I want to be able to train something that might happen in my front driveway, or somewhere else. So I try to think of like wrestling. Like my biggest argument with jiu-jitsu was I don't want to be on the ground with somebody and them have a knife and pull it out and just gut me.
Yeah, for sure.
If I'm done, I'm trying to hold my guts in. I can't defend myself anymore from there.
Why I like the Filipino trap style knife trapping and stick trapping is because they do empty hand, stick, and knife, but it's just more like it's almost like flow drills in jiu-jitsu, like both people get to go type of a thing, because it's not a lot of the application on getting it off the way is the same. That's what I was starting to see, because like Roland has been, dude, he's shown me a shit ton of stuff. He's been showing me 31 Joe kata. Do you know that? It's a kata, I guess. It's either from Jodo, which McMillan has high rank in Jodo. McMillan's our judo, and he's a coral belt in Aikido. But
Now, what is a coral belt? You said it.
Coral belt. It's a white for Aikido and Judo at least. It's a white and red belt. Looks like a candy cane.
So I don't know that.
And then it goes to white and black, and it goes to then it goes to red and black, and then to red. I'm pretty sure. In jiu-jitsu, it just goes black all the way to, I believe, 6th degree, and then it's red and black, and then it's red for 9th and 10th.
For Nihon Shin Aikido, it is yellow, blue, green, purple, brown, black.
What comes after black?
That's it.
No, it's definitely not it. It keeps going.
I mean, you get stripes from there. I mean,
that's I guess what the stripes indicate on the coral, and because that's what is the style? Is that like a
Nihon Nihon
Goshin
Aikido.
Right.
Yeah, they do. I know they do stripes after that.
I bet it's really similar.
But you
to
don't
judo.
get stripes before that. You know, like you don't get any stripes before that. It's just belt.
Red belts in jiu-jitsu blow my mind. It blows my mind that you can even.
I never knew.
Point.
It's mostly we don't know about. Like coral belts in jiu-jitsu are a really common thing now. Like Hickson's coral belt, and now he got promoted to red belts at that seminar I was at.
With you,
but
that blows my mind making it to red belt.
But most Aikido systems I've seen have a. I'm not seeing. I'm just gonna type in Aikido rankings.
I actually have a ton of their manuals. I mean, probably.
So look, I would be interested to know because I like looking at.
Well, now there is a YouTube video of Mr. Weber on YouTube
detailing their system.
I don't know if he's
or
talking about that exactly. He might be in the later videos, but the first couple ones he's just talking about his history. I don't have all that.
Well, McMillan, he would know more about it than I would too, and because I was surprised when I found out that there were these white and so here it is for jiu-jitsu. So jiu-jitsu, at 8th degree, you are a red and black belt. But I think that's different now. I think it's 7th and 8th degree.
I don't think they do any belt color after.
After black?
Yeah, I don't.
Was Morihei Yoshiba a red belt when he died?
Mr. Weber
would be the next question.
Moro Shiba?
Yeah. Let's see. What was his rank?
So the creator of Nihon Goshin Aikido is Shota Morita. Shorta Morita. However, I can't pronounce it probably the right way. Exactly.
Yeah, my pronunciation. I just say it both ways, and then I kind of make fun of people. I'm like, if you're an elitist, you say it this way.
Mr. Weber was that way. He did, he Americanized it. You had to learn a whole 126 Japanese words, and I learned them and then did my test on them, but I didn't retain the information. Not like I should have, probably.
Yeah.
But again, it wasn't relevant to what I was doing. It was, See, that's me getting my brown belt.
Nice, dude. You don't even look the same, bro. Is that what you look like without a beard?
That's
How long ago was that? Are you a child there?
That's that's been 5 years ago.
Meet Fate Judo 8th Dan and BJJ Coral Belt Rudy Rodriguez. Bullshito. Let's see.
That's me and Carlos Gracie. You see me in the very back?
Nice. Photo bomb.
Yes.
Photo bomb. Nice, dude.
That's fun. I might be able to, this is Professor Drive-In. Really good guy. I love him because he doesn't talk.
Yeah.
Like it's so
He's
awesome.
a wise guy.
Yeah. Oh man. You're going to his class
and he just teaches.
And he just teaches and he'll show 3 techniques and then you do those. You'll drill those techniques, and then at the end he'll randomly he'll say you 2. It's like, 2 what?
Oh, I've drilled with a guy
I
like
gotta
that.
do number 2. Okay, I got you.
Do you have to do gi pull-ups if you mess it up?
I don't know. I
I've
never
drilled with
messed them
that
up.
guy too. Yeah. Oh, nice.
I'm just kidding. If I see something, usually I can duplicate it for the most part, but
I try, man. Sometimes
man.
I've been able to do things, and I try it again, and I was like, I don't even know how I did that the first time.
Yeah.
Simple drills sometimes.
Jiu-jitsu, dude. It's remarkable how, like, because I just tell people, it's like every year in, I've learned more and more and more.
Look, we can't even stay on topic.
I know.
We
It's
start talking about jiu-jitsu.
We do all train jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Dude, but you know who else trains jiu-jitsu? Like Maynard from Tool.
Yeah, it's all
and
connected.
Jocko Willnick and Joe Rogan and all of these people that are super awesome. So
I mean, it's just they're all related in ways. Music, training jiu-jitsu, surfing,
Marcelo.
weed.
Dude, here's another thing. Like, it used to be a big deal to be a black belt in Arkansas, and like that's not even a thing anymore.
Well, do you think it's mainly because McDojos are just handing them
No,
out left
no,
and
not
right?
at all. I mean, it's because the people getting black belts, like I can't think of anybody off the top of my head that is a black belt in like that does not deserve it right now. You know what I'm saying? Like nobody just sticks and comes out to mind.
I mean, is it just because, I mean...
But like, we'll just say, for
gym
example, we're about to
association with
promote, like our
everybody,
association's
I
about to
mean,
promote like 5 or 6 people.
That's what I'm saying. We have a good association with...
Well, we promoted like 6 or 7 people last year or
That's
something
what
like
I'm
that. Like,
saying.
yeah.
But no one outside of, our association would use...
The other associations do the same thing. So it's like there's like easily, so like the population of black belts is like quadrupled in the last 5 years.
Right.
Like you could, that's easy,
In the
an easy
jiu-jitsu
assertion.
community
Yes,
here?
yes, yes. Brazilian jiu-jitsu. So.
What's the average time it takes in Arkansas? Just out of curiosity,
If you averaged it, I would say probably like 9 years. If you looked at it,
would you
if
say
looked at
that's
everybody.
for a consistent like 2 to 3 times a week,
Mm,
or would you say that's more of a full timer?
I don't know. For me, dude, it was running the school and traveling, training, competing, and doing all the stuff I do. But I didn't really have an instructor in front of me every day. But I got my time in, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
And there were times when I did have an instructor, but you know.
Well, see, for me, it was never about the belt. You know, like even when I was doing Aikido, like the reason I went to Aikido, I wasn't a fan of Aikido when I walked into that class. I just went to go get some stuff from the hardware store and see that they had a self-defense school next to it. So I wanted to learn how to handle myself a little bit better than I thought I could. So, but it was practical. When I went in there and I seen what he was teaching practical stuff, and I was like, okay, well that's usable. I can see that using. I can see that working. You know, but I don't. You know, I love jiu-jitsu, man. It's just like a chess game, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
I've been showing the fuck out of that keto throw, Katsunagi. It's like one of my favorite throws of all time. But that's like, here's the thing that a lot of people don't catch too, and I can't tell you all the connections as of yet because I'm only like learning the second kata from judo for like my rank and stuff. That's all I'm keeping up with currently. But a lot of the later katas in judo are the primary information contained in Aikido. That's why I have my Kodokan Judo book, and then underneath the Tao Chi Kundo right there is this Aikido book. And it's like, that's where you get into, in the later judo katas, the Sawari Waza, the kneeling techniques, where you get into stick and knife defense, where you get into defense against the staff and the bokan and stuff like that, which is, from what I've seen, like staple methods from Aikido, you know, like the angular strikes. And that's what like crosses over to the Filipino stuff. Like like Roland's doing with me is he uses judo to like reverse engineer everything for me to understand. Or he knows I know Thai boxing too, so he'll talk to me about the clinch a lot and like break stuff down.
Well, see, the kickboxing, I want to do more kickboxing.
We're doing all clinch work in kickboxing, clinch work and trapping. That's all we're working on right now. So.
I wanted, when we moved out here, I wanted to not work full time, but train full time more. And it's not because I wanted a belt promotion. It was because I just
You're
wanted
addicted
to
to it.
Yeah. Oh man, I just it was like fuck.
I get it.
That's why I need mats at my house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That's
If you're
why.
listening, Cora.
And Harper was just getting to that size where I could roll with him more and more. When we moved, and so.
Yeah, dude, he is not
Come to kickboxing.
much smaller than you are, for sure.
Oh yeah. He's about Erica's height, so right at Erica's height.
Kickboxing is a lot of fun. Once we double up on the schedule, you'll be able to do like a fitness kickboxing and a regular kickboxing.
Now listen, I
each night.
did a fitness kickboxing.
What'd you think about that?
It'll wear you out.
Killed you.
I liked it. Well, no, it wasn't a fitness. It was just a regular kickboxing.
Oh yeah.
It was with you actually, and you were doing the combinations. Now, when I was doing this 1 2 2 1 2
The pyramid drill.
and then a kick, you were kind of scoping me out, and I'm curious if I was doing a shitty job, or if
Who knows, dude?
Because you were like watching me, and I was like, man, am I doing a shitty job or?
I watch everybody.
Okay.
That's how I learn too, man. Watching people, like it's like I'm always, my mind is always assessing data. Doesn't matter if I'm watching kids roll, because you see people react to staple situations, and that's what I might notice more and more. Like the longer I'm like, how you reacted to that, like you bridge and rolled somebody out of mount, and then they didn't close their guard immediately, nor did you pass immediately.
Yeah.
That's what I see the kids do all the time. you
Well,
know?
and I couldn't get your movements down correctly. I mean, exactly the way you were doing them, but I'd watched you and then just kind of did this little switch kick. I think like you had did it, but I don't know. Like
If I would have saw you messing up, I would have come over and been like, "Hey, but it's this way," or I would have been like, I'm gonna give him a pass. If he wants to get better, he'll keep coming. I'm kind of passive aggressive
kicking
because
the
like
mat,
sometimes I firmly believe this. I've got a moderation of people that are like either passive aggressive coaches or like super involved or like so involved that you don't get the reps you need, but you get the information. Like there's a spectrum of ways you could do it, but like I think if you can just get the concepts out and let people work, like they will figure it out. That's why like there's a lot to be said for just like grinding it out and putting in your reps. Like when I see people like not drilling on the mat, I'm like, what the fuck?
It helps.
Yeah. You gotta put those times in.
Well, we had this thing called specific training out in Arizona, and that's why it was weird for me. There was a couple times where I did open mat, and then or not open mat. We had rolled at the end of class before we bowed out, and then I had just walked off and dressed
Rude,
out.
and you're wearing your Gracie Baja patches, asking me to roll, not shaking my hand. Like all of the
and it was
violations.
like because my routine was like so out of it, like
Who
I was so
cares?
used to the open mat, like after like you bow out and then you do the open mat afterwards, and then you can just leave whenever you want. And so it kind of messed me up, But
Don't face us when you're tying your belt.
Yeah, dude,
but
we're
we did
real
this,
strict.
We did this specific training where like whatever you drilled.
You situationally roll.
Yeah, you situationally rolled, and I kind of like that or whatever. That's what I try to do. That Bravo choke I've been working since you had showed me that one.
Dude, we're a really good version of that. I don't know if we did that, but it's from the knee slide pass. Like when somebody traps you in the knee slide pass position.
Well, see, I do that, but I don't call it. They called it the ninja choke, and it's that where you pass You turn your back to them when you knee slide through. You turn your back to them, and then you pass the lapel back over, and then you flip over, and it.
Okay, yeah, I do something like that from Neon Belly, but I don't have their lapel like that. I mean, you could. I do something like that somewhere else too.
Yeah, you're passing.
Somewhat
over
recently, I just
to this
started
hand
doing
and
it.
then flipping over, and it's choking them. I'll have to show it to you one day in class or whatever. But
Yeah, but from Neon Belly, I do that. I'll get a baseball style choke and just like do a forward roll, land bridged.
now that one I did the other day, that triangle from side control with the leg included.
Yeah.
I seen that, and that's
that guy from BJJ over 40, he posts some incredible shit.
I haven't seen that one.
He's the guy that does I was joking around the triangle. The leg in,
okay.
yeah, he's what's his name? Mike something. Bidwell, maybe. I can't remember.
Check it out.
Anyway. Yeah, well.
Yeah.
Jiu-jitsu.
Jiu-jitsu, yeah. So, yeah, cannabis and jiu-jitsu.
There's
Joe Rogan
a lot
talks
of
about
lot of
cannabis.
people that do both.
They
yeah.
go hand in hand.
Joe
It's
Rogan
like
says it's a
surfing.
great thing with,
Nerd assassins.
Yeah.
they're assassins.
That's what Eddie Bravo calls them. It is. Jiu-jitsu does. It attracts a unique type of personality. It really does.
Well, and I was talking with one of the people at work the other day, and because, believe it or not, even though I work in the cannabis industry, everybody that I work with are not cannabis users. There's some of them that don't know jack squat about
Interesting.
cannabis. So,
But they're getting a crash course.
oh man, but they're sitting there, trimming product, and that's fine. That's great, but we can educate them and talk to them. So I was talking with this girl there, talking about what cannabis can do, what it can help them with. And I said, everybody can use cannabis. It doesn't matter, because everybody is using some kind of medicine to help some kind of ailment they have. Cannabis can help 90% of those.
Yep.
It doesn't matter if it's, ibuprofen's used constantly. Ibuprofen's terrible for you.
Yeah, it caused all kinds of inflammation.
Yeah. So why not use something like cannabis? That's why everybody should be on cannabis in some shape or form.
CBD or some.
Yeah, well,
it's just like what we're talking about, like all the derivative products that are not able, paper, bags, everything that it could replace its plastic if it were, because here's the thing, like I was going over this for prep in my Arkansas history class, but like we lead the United States in production of a lot of different, like poultry, rice, soybeans, and something else. It was one other crop. I was like, oh, okay, surprising. But it's like, what state's going to lead the United States in the production of hemp or the products used is a part of, if there is a Green New Deal, and it's a part of replacing plastics and things that are not biodegradable.
I would imagine California would start off with that. I mean, they were, before all this hit, they were supplying the U.S. with, I forget what percentage of marijuana.
I don't know. I think you'll find it's more places that'd be like Kentucky or.
See, I mean,
it'll be places that are already, like, why we're kind of. I think it would be places that already are cultivating leaders in agriculture production.
Driven, yeah. It's they've already got all that stuff in place to harvest and to cut down or whatever, because in a massive hemp production, you're not gonna have to cut each plant and individually cut branches off of them and hang them up and then take care of them.
I know. I saw some. I guess there are some hemp farms. I don't know where. Maybe it was in Canada. Maybe it was in the United States. But I saw a video of someone recently and showing the stocks and stuff of them, and I was like, whoa.
I've been told there's some people working on some here.
Could have been. It could be these Forge Creek people.
It's Forge Creek. I think they do it here in Arkansas, if I'm not mistaken.
I keep telling them to come on the podcast. Maybe they will.
Yeah, and I didn't do any research really before I did this podcast. This is just kind of fly by the seat of the pants.
That's the best kind of podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
Really is. Well, let's go ahead and wrap it up. I think my dog needs to go outside too. I just heard her chirp, so she does that in the mornings. Well, dude, thanks for coming on. It's been real. It's been fun.
Well, and hopefully, as this goes on, we'll get some more information, and maybe we can get back on.
Well, maybe when this the dispensary opens up in Russellville, we can
or cut and splice this with another one or something.
Yes. I do jiu-jitsu only podcast all the time. I just call it Jiu-Jitsu Unraveled instead of Life Unraveled.
I got you. Nice.
Put it in the Sports Unraveled playlist.
Yeah.
So
yeah, but they just go hand in hand, so it's hard.
It's all the same. I end up talking about jiu-jitsu every podcast anyway.
Yeah.
So
I can't not talk about it.
Jiu-jitsu and history, man. That's just like in possibly widespread panic.
I'm constantly telling people at work to get their kids in jiu-jitsu. Like, I'm always like, hey, you got kids? And they're like, yeah. And I said, you have little girls? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, put them in jiu-jitsu.
For real.
Like, you'll thank me later.
Yeah, I mean, for real. We have so many little girls that do our kids MMA program.
Yeah.
And they're going to be able to defend themselves. Yeah, like they're going to grow up with the confidence and abilities, and they all have.
Well, and look, boys have, they just have this little bit of a chance that they're gonna, they're a lot better chance, and they're not gonna get beat up as much. Or not so much beat up, but I mean,
yes.
I guess some. But I mean, as far as like as an attack situation, like most females get attacked in a choking situation, and they can't get out of it. They don't have the strength to get out of it. They just they don't have the capability of getting out of it. So jiu-jitsu can help them with that tremendously.
It's confidence, man.
Yeah, give your kids confidence, and just knowing that your kids out there being able to defend themselves a little bit.
Well, that they're actively mentally engaged and working on it and thinking about it. I mean, I talked to like Harper's class, for example. He's like, that's the only group of kids I work with, teens. And it's like, we talk about self-defense every class. It's part of it. It's part of the conversation. Every time. Even if it's at the end of class, at the mat chat, or during class, or throughout, or whatever. So.
Awesome.
All right, signing off. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
We'll see you next time.